If I could attribute one thing to my success, what would it be? I'm gonna have to say consistency. You know, when I first started off, gosh, I remember back, I'm not gonna tell you how long ago that was, but when I first started off, it was hard being consistent, right? I'm human, and I believe everybody needs accountability, so I hired a coach. And that coach would call me once a week and would track all my numbers. I also put even more accountability in place. I had a deal with another agent in the office, and we wrote checks to each other. I wrote him 10 checks. He wrote me 10 checks. His name was Jim Arminiak. Jim, if you're out there, reach out. I haven't talked to Jim in I don't know how many years, but I wrote Jim 10 checks for $100 each. And Jim wrote me 10 checks for $100 each. And the deal was, whoever wasn't in the office by 7 a.m., under any circumstance, and it didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if somebody died in your family. It didn't matter if there was a snowstorm, a blizzard outside. It didn't matter what it was. If you weren't in the office by 7 a.m., the other person got to cash the check. When one person lost all 10 checks, the game was over. Well, obviously, Jim lost that bet. I won. However, we both made a lot of money. I think it took about 6 months before Jim lost, 7 months before Jim lost all his checks. But after those 6 months were done, Jim continued to make phone calls. I continued making phone calls for years. Jim continued making phone calls for a long time, and we both made a lot of money. So although it might have cost Jim $1,000, trust me when I tell you, he made a lot more than $1,000 because he got into a routine. They say it takes about 30 days before something becomes a habit. I think it takes a little bit longer, but we both became very consistent. We both made a lot of money. We made a lot of calls, but I would say, A, you gotta have a coach, and B, you've gotta have somebody, if it's not yourself, holding you accountable to a very high level.